I'm going to throw this out to all three of you. What about the politics of all of this? Former President Trump seems to be positioning himself as very pro-crypto. Biden and Gary Gensler at the SEC, maybe not so much. What does this sort of mean here, the politics of it? You want to take a shot?
There's been a big backlash. This industry is really mad because the SEC declared war on it, used the enforcement mechanism, didn't set up any clear guidelines, and for some reason the Republicans have rushed to embrace it, and they've gotten a lot of support out of Silicon Valley, and they're using a lot of money in elections now to sway congressional races. Now, the Democrats are reacting, but only in half
Ben, it
form.
is rather remarkable to see politics injected. Is former President Trump coming to the Bitcoin
conference?
Conference?
Yes, he will be speaking on Saturday at Bitcoin Nashville.
Bitcoin Nashville this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Ben, is that not remarkable? I mean, there's a very clear example. This must matter somehow a lot to him.
Yeah, Bob, of all of the things that I could think of as being even remotely worthy of soaking up any amount of bandwidth in the political discourse right now, I would put this as probably, if not the single silliest, maybe at least one of the silliest. We've got much bigger fish to fry in this moment, in my opinion.
Apparently, the former president.
I don't know about that. I think, first of all, you're leveraging it to Silicon Valley, technology, venture capital, where JD Vance was for a while. And that community has a lot, is pro-innovation. And they think that if you have an anti-innovation president, that ripples through the economy into other sectors as well.
Yeah. So, Dave, what's next? Is this going to open the floodgates for other crypto ETFs? How are we reading this now?
Well, it's funny to think through the regulations of all these vehicles that were, these are 33 Act products, so that's almost 100 years ago in terms of the regulations keeping track with these new technologies. Part one is we talked about at the start where we went through a lot of back and forth with the regulators, and they were asking right questions. How is this going to behave in terms of, will the ETF do what it's supposed to do? And it's worked great. And we've got a few hours today for Ethereum, but everything looks great. No issues with the Bitcoin. So I think as the comfort level with these new types of exposures, Bitcoin and Ethereum is one. I'm hoping that okay, the ETF vehicle's been battle tested, it works, and we're seeing that it does exactly in terms of tight spreads and tracking. Hopefully that will allow the next wave of digital assets to come down. We're excited about multi-coin opportunities, the next wave of coins if you go down the market cap spectrum. So hopefully the last 6 months for the Bitcoin ETFs and trading so far is proof that it works.
I don't want to get too wonky, but there's a simple legal question here for this to proceed. Traditionally, you have to show that this is not a manipulated market, right? That was a big legal test to get approval for these in the past, wasn't it? We had to have some demonstration.
Yes, that's what the SEC said, yes.
Well, all right. I'm only going by what the SEC says. And the other thing is, in all these commodities, to do that, you usually had to have a regulated futures market, right? So right now, you don't have any of that in these other ones, right? So if you had the current regime, you would need to have a regulated futures market. I'm just leading you down a path here, isn't that correct?
The core issue is, are they commodities or are they securities, right? And that's why Congress has stepped in and they said, enough dragging your feet here, SEC. We're just under the FIT 21 proposal that passed the House. We're just going to give all the jurisdiction to the CFTC and provide some clarity. So there's a lot of anger on Capitol Hill about the inability just to say, what is it? It's hard, I will grant you that, because all these tokens, some are decentralized, some are more centralized. Right. And so it's...
Well, that was another issue, whether they're decentralized or not.
There's a lot of gray, but I think the industry has been asking for clarity on the rules so they know what to do.
Ben, can you shed any light on this? He mentioned a very important point, another test, decentralization, not being manipulated. But if we have a regime change, maybe all that'll change. I'm talking about whether this is opening the door to other crypto ETFs.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have at this point, Bob, is a blueprint for what's worked ultimately for Bitcoin and what's worked for Ethereum. And let's not forget that ultimately what forced the issue was the SEC was effectively sued for rulings that were deemed arbitrary and capricious, for having allowed futures-based Bitcoin ETFs out of the barn, and then trying to subsequently shut the door. So I think we've got a roadmap, and I think one of the all-important milestones on that roadmap is whether or not there's some other regulated market that we can point to in the case of both Bitcoin and Ethereum futures. That was indeed the case. So what's the next frontier? Difficult to say in terms of the underlying assets, but I think what we will see and what we've already seen with Bitcoin products is iteration. So new strategies like trend following strategies, options-based ETFs, different just sort of permutations, iterations on that underlying asset, on that underlying theme,
right.
I think is all but certain.
Yeah, well, let me follow up on that. That's a great point. One thing we know for sure, Ben, is that Bitcoin ETFs trade an awful lot. Do you expect that the same with Ethereum ETFs? And I presume you brought this up. I presume options are next on this whole game here. That's where this is going to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. So I think what putting a Bitcoin in an ETF has done is it's served up trades in spades. So all of a sudden you have this very convenient exchange listed instrument that you can do carry trades with. When and if we have options on these ETFs, there will be options trades that will manifest. So it creates an entire ecosystem of opportunities to make money in ways other than hodling the underlying assets. And we've seen that really manifest in the massive volumes that we've seen over the first 6+ months that the Bitcoin ETFs have been on the market.
Have you filed for futures on this? Can you do that right now, or
Well, we have an Ethereum futures ETF already, right? So we need to move beyond that.
Yeah, I mean
into
options.
Other,
Excuse
into
me,
other
I meant
tokens.
options.
No, as I think Ben mentioned, there's no options on any Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
So it's something that there's definitely market demand for it. It hasn't been approved by the regulators.
Yeah.
I believe.
You did file for Solana.
Yes.
Yeah. You were the first one. You always are, right?
Yes.
With all these things.
We try to, yes. But listen, we have 11 token products in Europe. So the U.S. is so far behind, really where the rest of the world is. I mean, they have retail exchanges in Europe that have hundreds of tokens listed under a regulatory regime. So we're just, I know the U.S. is important in the deepest pockets, but we're steps behind.
I want to ask about one other little part of this whole thing. Ethereum has moved to proof of stake rather than proof of work, which is what Bitcoin still uses. Without getting too wonky, can you explain what the difference is and what does that mean for Ethereum investors? What does it mean to move to proof of stake?
If you lock up some of your Ethereum, you can basically get paid for kind of contributing that to the network. So that's what staking rewards are. We get staking rewards on our Ethereum product in Europe. We are not allowed. The SEC has banned that in the United States.
For ETFs.
ETFs, and you can't.
Is that because it sounds like a security when you get paid like that? That's probably why, right?
Yes. But I mean, I'm not sure it's a good legal argument, but it doesn't matter. They're suing. They've sued all. The SEC has sued all the exchanges, so you can't even stake your Ethereum on Coinbase.
Yeah. Huh. That seems to be a difficult situation, but I understand why. If their argument is it's a security, so. There you go.
What's the harm?
Well,
we've been doing
Dave,
it
you want to
Europe
weigh in on this? Is there a harm here by them? Go ahead.
I mean, we originally had filed for staking, as Jan said, it's not allowed. I do think that the Ethereum being staked is going to be an input into any opinion of the price of Ethereum. As all of a sudden the amount of freely traded Ethereum is locked up, that will be a consideration. But no, that's part of the proof of stake network, and for ETFs right now, we can't do that.
All right, guys, fascinating conversation. Appreciate it. Bottom line, folks, is day one, Ethereum ETFs appear to be successful. Whether it's as successful as Bitcoin ETFs, we don't know. But again, it's a completely different technology than Bitcoin. I did a story on this today for my Trader Talk, tradertalk.cnbc.com. Urge you to go take a look. I think it's a interesting, worthwhile technology. Whether or not you believe in cryptocurrencies or you think it's nonsense, the technology is very interesting.